let's cue the music and start that word chat.
Hello and welcome everybody. Sorry about that delay there. I installed this very cool new add-on to Zoom called Circles that puts everybody in a little circle and it gives you more of your screen. And it's really cool. I recommend it, but I could not figure out how to do some of the basic functions in Zoom. And so I had this like thing where at time to let you in, I just had to like restart my computer and restart because I couldn't even quit the darn thing. So yeah, Erin McKean has been a friend forever. We've never spoken face to face. It's always been we might have spoken face to face. I first met Erin McKean at an ACES conference in Cleveland many years ago. My first ACES conference, and I don't know if we actually spoke or because I remember going to the table and not buying any of her books. So it was kind of probably one of these things where really cool. Oh, I love this, but then I didn't buy anything. They're all books on words that I would not use as a copy editor. So anyway, Erin McKean is the founder of Wordnik, which is the online dictionary that the goal is to find every word in the world and list it. I think that's still the goal. Erin, welcome. My first question, because we had the Met Gala, all the news is, about who wore what. So who are you wearing today?
I'm wearing a vintage Erin McKean. I sent Heather a link to the blog post where I talked about this dress. So in my non-word life, I like to make a lot of my own clothes, and I have an intermittent blog about it. It's called Dress a Day, but we're kind of lucky now if it's dress a month. Dress a fortnight, maybe.
I was going to ask you about that because I looked at Dress a Day recently, and it seemed like you posted there recently, which I assumed if you hadn't told me, I would have said, wow, she's really still doing the Dress a Day. When did you start that?
Oh my goodness. It was like the Holocene era of blogging. It was like 2004. Like it started on Blogger, right? That's how old it was.
Okay. and you've been not doing it every day, but you what was the purpose? What was your motivation at that time?
Oh, just general entertainment, mostly for myself. And I was working from home then too, and I really didn't have a lot of outlets to talk about clothes because my toddler son was not interested and my spouse was not that interested. But on the internet, there's always somebody who's interested in something. So I thought, well, I'll just blog about dresses.
But you're a lexicographer. So how did the dresses thing get
everybody needs a hobby.
Yeah.
I feel like lexicographers in general tend to have interesting hobbies. I mean, Peter Sokolowski is like a jazz maven, right? And
sure,
yeah. So
yeah. Peter's been on the show. Peter hosts a radio show for New England Public Radio on jazz. So yes, interesting guy. Yes, everybody needs a hobby. I've got a couple, but they're editing related, so that's not much fun. So what is Wordnet? Can you maybe explain the concept of it? Because it's not, it's a big online dictionary, but there are other online dictionaries, and what distinguishes it and what's the plan there?
So I like to joke, for many audiences, I can make this joke that Wordnik is the biggest online dictionary that nobody's ever heard of. but because you're here, you probably have heard of Wordnik. And so, Wordnik's a 501c3 nonprofit. And our mission, because once you're a nonprofit, you get to have a mission, like superheroes have missions and nonprofits have missions. And our mission is to find and share all the words of English. And there's a paper that was published in the journal Science back in 2010. I think I sent you the correct link for that, Mark.
Right.
Basically, they did an analysis of the Google Books corpus, which at that point was, I think, 4% of all the books ever published. And they said, oh, okay, well, of the unique word types that we see in the corpus, 52% of them are not in the dictionaries that we checked, which included the American Heritage, Webster's Third, OED. Now, to be fair, a lot of those words were variants, morphological variants, or maybe they were like, you could double the size of any dictionary you care to name by just taking all of the head words in that dictionary and adding your favorite prefix or suffix to them, or, infix if you want to swear. But there's a lot of words that I always think that the paradox of dictionaries is that the words people go to look up are the ones that they don't necessarily know in many cases.
Right.
And they're usually words they don't know because they're rare, or they have a specialized field of reference, or they're part of a subculture that you don't necessarily belong to, or they're very new. Guess what words don't make it into traditional dictionaries? Words that are very rare, words that are part of a subculture that's not a general one, words that have a specific field of reference. So I was like, okay, so when I was working on traditional dictionaries, I got asked the question all the time, like, why isn't this word in the dictionary? And I would have to give a really long, boring answer about like time and space and resources and usefulness. And nobody wanted that answer. They just wanted their words. And so with Wordnik, it originally started as a venture-backed startup. Like I gave a talk at a conference at TED in 2007, where I was like, why can't we just use the infinite space of the internet to put all the words in this thing that we call the dictionary, this big dictionary bucket? And really what was holding traditional dictionaries back from having all the words was defining all the words. But it turns out most people don't learn the majority of words in their vocabulary through reading definitions in a dictionary. They learn them through context. So with Wordnik, the goal is not just to find and list every word of the English language, because a list of bare words, I mean, that's for Scrabble, right? That's for memorization. What we want to do is show rich enough context for all of these words, not necessarily a traditional definition, but an example or some like paratext in the form of like comments and things like that, that you understand what the word means. And then you feel like, oh, okay, well, either this belongs in my vocabulary, it's a useful tool for what I want to do, or not.
Okay. Did you say?
Sorry, I could rant on that.
No, I don't want to interrupt you because I want you to keep ranting, but I mean, because that's your thing. But what I think you use the word paratext.
Right. So sometimes I think when you think about the dictionary, right, we've got the definitions and we've got examples, which might be natural or lightly edited natural or completely contrived. And then you've got maybe a usage note or maybe a label. But and in online dictionaries, you often have comments. And so I think about, okay, we've got the text, right? What does this word mean? Either through a definition or through an example. But then I think just as important as the denotation, right, is the connotation. Do people love this word? Do people hate this word, right? Like a canonical example of a perfectly innocuous word that many people dislike is moist, right? There's nothing really wrong about the word moist or what it means. It's just a word that a lot of people just don't take a shine to.
Right. Is that a pun?
I hope
moist, not. Pine, well, shine.
Yeah. So I like thinking about like giving people not just giving people kind of the background information about the word, not just the surface information.
Okay. So and I have endless questions because I'm a dictionary geek. I mean, I love dictionaries. I have a whole bunch of them on my shelf. And I'm giving a talk at the Association of Science Editors, Association of Earth Science Editors. They're coming to Columbus. Not too many of them, COVID, travel restrictions. But so I'm thinking it's going to be a small crowd. But I'm going to give a talk at the end of the month about what dictionary you should be using and what a kind of a comparison of dictionaries. So this is great that I have you on the show because then I can pick your brain. And I'll tell you, the first dictionary I go to, because it's convenient, is the one on my Mac, is the dictionary app on the Mac, which is the new Oxford American Dictionary, new Oxford American Dictionary. No ad, yeah.
Yes, no ad.
Yes, and you were the editor, not of the latest edition, but the previous edition, right?
Yeah.
So
I actually went on the sales call to Apple that got that dictionary in there. It was
Cool.
probably one of the
Yeah.
highlights of my life because because also it was cool to go to Apple, but also
Yeah.
because they put us in a conference room called Here, and then there was one across the hallway called There, which I just thought that was hilarious.
Good.
Yeah. Well, really, the tool that is the best is the one you're going to use, right? Like, I have certainly driven in nails with a screwdriver. I'm not proud of it, but if I didn't have a hammer to hand, I'm going to use what I need to know. Again, use what I need to use to get what I need to get done. And I feel like there are layers of questions that you can answer with a dictionary. And for some of the very simplest questions, like, is it A before E or E, I before E? Any dictionary will probably do the trick. Any modern dictionary. I feel like I tend to be a kind of obsessively curious person. So when I look something up, I tend to look it up in like 5 or 6 places, but that might just be a reference editor sickness and not like a normal human thing to do.
I do exactly the same thing. And I don't know if that, because I usually don't stop at the little Apple app. I go to the Merriam-Webster, I'll go to Wordnik, I'll go to American Heritage, which I don't know, they don't seem to advertise that they're online, and it has all the great usage notes there. So what dictionaries do you consult other than Wordnik?
Oh, the OED. I hope that everyone knows that in most jurisdictions in the US, you can get free access to the OED through your public library. So you can usually log on into your library and find the login to the OED.
Yeah. Or you could do what I did and marry somebody who's going to be a university professor and log in as her into the university library. And it's just a suggestion.
There are also some libraries that will let you have a card even if you don't live there. Like, for example, if you live in any place in California, you can get a San Francisco Public Library card. You just have to come pick it up in person.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so check your
Good to
state
know.
library website just to see which libraries might have extended card access. Some universities let their alumni log in as well. So I don't want to keep like saying, yes, the OED, go look up everything in the OED, because it's not really the appropriate tool for all kinds of questions.
Right.
But I often have questions that are like OED shaped.
Yeah. Historic, etymological.
I also love all of the Brewer's dictionaries, Brewer's dictionaries of phrase and fable. So like, especially if you're reading antiquarian fiction, like getting references to old allusions, and you can get access to a lot of those through Google Book Search. And try to think what other reference sources I look at. I actually spend like probably more time doing what I would call like Google Book spelunking, where I like, okay, I need to find what this word means, and it's not in any reference source. So let me see what examples I can find. And usually Google Books is a good source because a lot of non-book search results have been poisoned by people just putting random strings of words in there to try to get something in the search results.
Right. So that's interesting. So let's get back to this question so that's good. Those are good notes for my presentation. I'll say Erin McKean said this. I'm sorry, pronouncing it right. Erin McKean is how you pronounce it, right? I should have. It's like I read your name all the time, and I don't speak to you nearly enough. So Erin McKean. Where was I going? The Wordnik. You talk about 52% of words are in dictionaries and they're double the number that are in dictionaries that need to be defined, but it's a really complicated thing, right? But we don't really know how many words are in English. A lot of words a lot of technical words, I don't even know if you could really say they're English, if there happen to be, we probably say, well, that's an English word, but it could have been invented in an office in India, which I suppose they speak English, but it's, there's so many technical words that to call them English, they're only used in a very narrow sense, right?
Right. I'm a maximalist. I probably only
Okay.
draw the line at names of chemical compounds and and written out numbers, right? So I would say that if you want to spell out a very long number, I'm not going to say that all put together is a word.
Oh, okay.
But the thing is my point of view as a maximalist is if somebody wants to look something up, I want them to be able to do so.
Yeah.
And I don't want someone else to put a gate on their curiosity to say that's not worthwhile, that's not useful, go do something better with your time. I don't ever want somebody to hear that because I don't want to close off people's natural curiosity.
Right.
And I think that there's a spectrum, right? From highly curated to completely open. And I would say that Wordnik is closer to the completely open side because so much of it is automated. And I would say that absolutely completely open is a search engine, right? There's been no filtering at all other than what's going to be in the search results. And absolutely curated is probably on the OED side of things, right?
Right.
And you just have to pick the point of the spectrum that serves your use case and your need.
Right. Yeah. I wonder, I didn't plan on this, but I wonder if we could take a look at Wordnik just to, because I think there are some cool features. I can share my screen. There are some cool things about Wordnik that.
And I am just going to focus on the stuff that's busted. I'm sorry, it's all I see.
Take notes.
The great thing about being a lexicographer is the work outlives you. And I'm much more that I feel like I'm luckier than 99% of all the lexicographers who've ever lived because most Wordnik is in a state where people can use it. And I didn't have to publish it as a series of fascicles. That makes me happy. Yeah. But we actually just pushed a big deploy on Labor Day because since I also have a day job, I do a lot of Wordnik work nights, weekends, Sundays, and holidays.
Right.
So yeah, hopefully things won't be too busted.
Okay. Well, let's see if we can bust it. Then you can, take a
send
pause and send a text. Yeah. All right.
If you find stuff that you don't like on Wordnik, if you send an email to Wordnik, I'm the person who answers, and I almost always will offer you Wordnik stickers as a thank you for helping me improve the site.
Here's an interesting thing on Wordnik that I noticed today, and I think I assume everybody's looking at the screen. I was looking for a list because somebody wrote to me and said, looking for a source of words the kids are using today. And so I thought, you know what? I'll bet there's a list. I don't know if
you're going to find that on Wordnik. But
well, I was looking for the list. I was looking for a list of Gen Z words. And I found a lot of, I did find a lot of, slang words I love, new words, that sort of thing. But
you want to know a secret for how to find a list on Wordnik?
Yes.
Go to Google. So if you go to Google and you use the site keyword, put in Gen Z, or actually, let me find something that would actually have an answer. Just put in, I don't know, sad as a word, or happy. That would be nicer. Happy as a word. Right. And in a Google search window.
Okay. Are you seeing the Google search window?
Yeah. So type in the word happy.
So, okay, we're just doing, but we want to do site.
And then space, and then the site keyword, SITE :
Oh, I didn't know you could do it that way. I always do it in the top bar, do site : and then
HTTPS www.wordnik.com, or I guess you can do just www.wordnik.com.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. And then here's the trick. /lists.
Okay.
And this will scope the search to only the pages on Wordnik that are lists.
Excellent. I don't know if people who are copy editors, this is if you're not using this kind of thing, I use this all the time. And I'll tell you where I use it is when I'm working for a particular company and they don't have there's a style question and you don't know how they do it. You can do a site search and find out how they've used that word or phrase in the past by doing a site search. So, okay. So we did that. And then look at this.
Yes, so they're
happy
all
words,
the happy lists.
happy hour. I'm going to go to happy hour.
Those are drink
And-
names.
Oh, okay. Right.
And I'm very
Boilermaker,
happy to see
Beaujolais.
that you're logged in, Mark, because if you're logged into
Mhm.
Wordnik and a Wordnik
Mhm.
account is free, then you will not see ads.
Oh, I
If you're
didn't.
not
Okay.
logged into Wordnik, you will see ads, which thank
Mhm.
you, that helps support the site. But you
Sure.
won't see ads on word pages where the word has been adopted. So if
Mhm.
somebody has sponsored a word, that turns off ads on that page too.
Right. Okay. And our producer Erin McKean was saying before the show that she just went ahead and adopted a word.
Copy editor.
Copy editor. But was it?
Erin adopted copy editor.
I assume it was the closed up version. Oh, look at that. Alternate
So-
spelling of copy
Um,
editor.
Yeah, so any word that you want to adopt, you can just look it up and there should be a
Mhm.
link on that page if the word's not already been adopted.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, the word wombat has been adopted permanently by one of Wordnik's original backers.
Oh,
So
really?
wombat will never be available for adoption, but most words are adopted for a year at a time.
Right. And I didn't, you knew it, but a couple of years ago, or 3 or 4 years ago, I adopted mnemonize. Mnemonize because I did a presentation on using mnemonics to remember editing. And I couldn't find the word mnemonize, which is, perfectly legitimate word from mnemonic to verb it, mnemonize it. It was in the Century Dictionary, which was on Wordnik, and that's the only place I could find it. So I had adopted that. So here it says the word copy editor has been adopted by Right Touch Editing, Aaron Brenner. I almost said Erin McKean. So, all right. So here's something that I'm going to put in a different word. The time I found dictionaries lacking is when I first learned the word twerk. And like many people of my generation, it was when everyone was talking about it after the Video Music Awards, the MTV Music Awards or something, when Miley Cyrus did the twerking. And I searched and I couldn't, I had to go to Urban Dictionary and that sort of told me what it was. But that can be scary. So here we go, twerk.
I don't know if we have something for it. I'll have to be surprised. I'm not seeing your
Oh,
screen
yeah.
anymore for some reason.
You're not. Oh, is everybody else seeing my screen, or I wonder if it's. Oh, you know what? Are you seeing any screen?
Now I am.
You're seeing are you seeing the screen with the start page?
Yes.
Okay. See, that's what I did a mistake. I accidentally clicked on something and opened a new page. So you probably
There you
didn't
go.
see me showing copy editor with that Right Touch Editing had adopted it. But okay, so this is twerk. And you have a definition from Wiktionary, which is an open source. I assume like Wikipedia, it's they have editors. I don't know. Do you know how Wiktionary works? Do they have people?
Yes, they're definitely
Yes.
dedicated Wiktionarians.
Wiktionarians?
I think so. I'm not sure what they call themselves.
Yeah.
I would like to know.
Yeah.
I can find
Okay.
out.
All right. We'll add that to the list. So it has a definition, several definitions, verbs and nouns, and etymology. And the thing I think is really useful with words is all these examples, which are drawn from Twitter, I guess, and Google or.
These are okay. So a lot of these. This is a borked thing. We
Mhm.
decided way back in the dimness of time that I Can
Mhm.
Has Cheeseburger would be an amazing corpus source. We were wrong. Clearing out the "I can has cheeseburger" text is
Oh, wow.
surprisingly difficult because of the way our data is currently structured, but it
Huh.
is on the to-do list. But if you ever would like to know about how a cat might talk, this is how you would find it
That
out.
is I didn't know there was an ICANN has cheeseburger corpus.
There is. Yes. We incorporated a lot of "I can has cheeseburger." So there's
Okay.
a lot of lolcat in Wordnik.
I see, but you also have CNN
Yeah, the CNN transcripts are great.
transcripts and, okay. And then you continue on, you have related, and twerk, maybe twerk isn't the best word because it is fairly new, although it isn't, you can see it's on a lot of lists here.
Yeah, a lot of people set up some bots to add a word to a list every time someone on Twitter said, "I love this word" or "I hate this word."
Right.
I would not try to load any of these lists right now because they load incredibly slowly.
These are huge lists,
Yes, because they were done by
7,258.
bots.
Yeah, okay. All right, you want to go for these 359 lists.
Yeah, that's a reasonably sized list. Lists now have a top, lists are now capped by size, and we also turned off the bits that let bots just completely keep adding to lists a while back, but we haven't cleared out the giant list.
Cool. So what's a good word that
I like going to the community page, and hopefully there's not too much spam there right now, just to see what other people are interested in.
These are like the newest, recently loved words.
Hey, it looks like only one piece of spam. But so like Razuzu just posted a citation for Flower of Kent as a cooking apple. And Bilby's been very active lately. And
Epitaph is a Jiffy read.
I think that was in response to some spam that I deleted.
Oh, okay.
But then you can also see on the right-hand side some recently looked up words and some recently listed words, recently loved words, sorry, and recently listed words. And some new
copy
lists.
Editors out there. Is this a bug? Is copy editors not there?
That wasn't listed. That's recently listed words, not recently looked up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, I said recently looked up when I should have said.
Yeah, no. Well, actually, Erin adopted it, so but it's not recently adopted.
Right. If you keep scrolling down, you'll see some random adoptions.
Oh, okay.
Below the new lists. And if you go to, we don't have a link to it on this page, but if you go to wordnik.com/adopted words, you can see the list of all the currently adopted words. Fingers crossed.
All right, we'll do that, and then I'll unshare my screen. Adopted words.
It should be adopted words.
Oh, actually, see, oh no, that's not it. Oh, I checked on Demonize, but of course I didn't adopt it. Did I do it wrong? Adopted words.
I just fixed this yesterday.
Okay. So how big of a emoji, doppelganger? These are some good words that deserve to be adopted. Yeah.
Wordnik supporters have really good word taste, I have to say.
Yeah, interesting. So how much time is Wordnik? I mean, I get the impression that you sort of love to get in there and get your fingers inky and do the technical back stuff.
Up to my elbows in JavaScript all the time. Really, I feel like I'm lucky in that I love working on Wordnik, and I'm privileged in that I have the time and energy and health to spare to do it. Like I can, I have a job that pays my bills, and I don't have young children at this point. I have old children at this point. And
it's so nice to have old children.
Well, I'm a huge fan of the college-age child, let me tell you. And and I have a spouse who so I'm not the only person who can fix the stopped up drain and
make
So I
dinner
have
occasionally.
like
Yeah.
life space. I have the privilege of life space to work on something that I love. And the fact that it's a nonprofit means that the time scale is extended, right? I just have to keep it going and
Yeah.
get it into such a good shape that, if God forbid I get hit by a bus or decide to run away and join the circus, that I can hand it over
Mhm.
to somebody else who would also like to have this pet.
Mhm.
It's a
Mhm.
pet website, really.
Yeah.
And and I'm
Yeah.
lucky that I have a really like helpful and thoughtful board. One of my board members is on the call, Bree, and we just added a social media Nick, Allegra Cuny, who's been helping us with the tweets and blog posts. She just did a really good Q&A
Oh,
with
yeah.
Erica Okrent.
Yes.
And
Saw that.
yeah, so
Mhm.
I just feel lucky that I get to work on this and that people find it useful and
Mhm.
that they like using it. But at the same time, um, I feel like at the end of the day, it's a dictionary. And if Wordnik were to be wiped off the face of the planet tomorrow, that would be sad,
Mhm.
but it wouldn't kill anybody. So, so
Yeah. Yeah.
I plan on, working on it until they put me in the ground. But
The
at the same
OED.
time, I feel pretty lucky and not too much stress and that I get to work on it. Like
Yeah.
there's this wonderful quote about lexicography from an early lexicographer of the 30s. And he basically talked about how great a job lexicography is.
Mhm.
I'm trying to remember what his name was. Basically, he said, Holbert. He said that the great thing about lexicography is that every day you feel this sense of having advanced the great work towards completion.
Mm.
But you don't go down like a rabbit hole for years and then find your research is unproductive and it's not so stressful that it's not working in an ER. It's just every
Right.
day you advance the great work towards completion. And it's
Yeah.
just, it's lucky.
Yeah. And it's not like you're spending time finding a word, defining a word, and then in 2 months nobody's using it anymore. I mean, sometimes I'm sure that happens, especially with Wordnik when you're trying to find, new words. But generally speaking, if a word comes to your attention, it's probably got some legs.
Well, the nice thing is that my attention is diffuse, right?
Uh,
So Wordnik has a kind of prototype citation reading program. So if you're interested in selecting citations that'll be used to train machine learning models to find we call them free range
Sure.
definitions. They're example sentences that really explain how a word works. Just email me and I'll send you the instructions. We use an online annotation tool called Hypothesis, which you just install it as a browser extension. It's really great to use. If you teach, you probably have used Hypothesis with a content learning system, a learning management system. But my attention is really I am setting the table so that the people can come. It's a stone soup model, right? Because a lot of what makes Wordnik is people coming and bringing their own little bits of knowledge and sharing it with other people. And usually that's in the form of comments or lists. And then we have a lot of, I would say, unconscious contributors because they're just writing for their own purposes on the internet somewhere. And they create a new word or they use a word with a really apt turn of phrase and it gets picked up, and then we get to share it with other people because most people, I would say that most rational people don't wake up every morning thinking, I'm going to coin a word today. They just make the language do what they need it to do for the things they want to get done.
Mhm. Right. And sometimes it results in a word, and sometimes it results in something that's used once and never used again.
Yep. And that's where I would be a maximalist because even the OED is full of nonce words. Like there's supposedly this apocryphal story about Thomas Hardy, where he wanted to know where a word came from. And he wrote to James Murray and said, hey, you haven't published this entry in the OED yet, but I'm really curious about this word. And Murray writes back and says, well, actually, you're the only example of it we have in use. You're the only writer for it. I've never been able to find the source of this story. I can't remember who told it to me.
Huh.
But yes, like OED is full of
That's cer-
nonce words because
It's
the
certainly
authors,
believable. Yeah.
the
Mhm.
authors were important enough to the Victorian dudes that started the project that they got to have their nonce words in, and not everybody gets that
Right. Right.
unless
Yeah.
your word gets into Wordnik.
Yes. So now you're the OED for the 21st century, I guess.
Oh no, The
No?
OED is going to be the OED for eternity because they have a
Mm,
completely different mission, right? They're tracing the
mhm,
historical development of all these
mhm,
words. And
mhm.
Wordnik is just like it's a big open party, right? You don't you don't have to meet the dress code. You don't have to bring a bottle of wine for the host. Just
Mhm.
show up and you're welcome. We've got plenty of space. Pull up a chair.
Mhm. So so you completely lost me at the whole web add-on
Oh,
and
sorry.
stuff, but no, that's okay. I mean, I'm sure other people understood it. It's just, I get lost. I know that API is a big part of what Wordnik does, and I don't understand that. I'm not afraid to admit what exactly is that side of it.
So when humans want data from a web page, they go to a browser and they load the page and they take the information in through their eyeballs or their earballs or however they want to get information, right? And when computers want information from other computers, they make an API call. So you can think of it as one computer going to another computer and saying, can I have 2 cups of sugar? And if you have the right permissions, then the second computer will give the first computer 2 cups of sugar or all the definitions for the word cat or whatever data that is available and can be
Mhm,
requested. So the Wordnik
mhm,
API is used by people who are building study apps and word games and apps that help you cheat at word games and
mhm,
password generators. Random password generators is a big use case for the Wordnik API. It's used by a lot of students who are just learning how to write computer programs because learning how to use an API is like it, it's a lot easier to learn how to use an API if you also don't have to learn what the data is shaped like. So for example, there are plenty of APIs that you could use to get map data. So latitude, longitude, GPS coordinates,
mhm,
but you can't always assume that everybody who's learning how to write computer programs also um, knows how to interpret GPS coordinates and latitude and longitude. But it's most of the time you can assume that people know what a dictionary definition is shaped like. So when they get the data back from the API, they don't have to do a lot of interpreting in their own heads. They have a pretty decent mental model of what the data should look like.
mhm.
Does that make sense? I
Yes.
love working with
Yeah.
APIs because APIs are like Lego blocks that you could use to build different things. Like Wordnik has its own APIs, and every piece of data that you see on the Wordnik page is the result of an API call, either to our internal data APIs or to external APIs. So for example, if you're logged into Wordnik and you look at your user page and you have a nice little icon of a picture you chose yourself, we actually get that data from Gravatar. We don't save your user pictures. Gravatar, the site
Right.
Gravatar does, and we use an API to say, hey, can I have Mark's profile picture? And we pull it back. And the images from Flickr, those go through the Flickr API. We're like, hey, Flickr, can you give us all the Creative Commons by licensed images that include this word? And the tweets, if tweets are loading, then that's
Mhm.
an API too.
All right. Very interesting. I do thank you. I love that was such a clear definition and you must be a lexicographer because you laid it out very nicely and clearly for me. I always sort of let everybody know that we are open to questions. If you have any, just let us know in the chat. And if you have any questions for Erin about anything to do with words or I guess stresses or APIs or anything else, let us know in the chat. I wonder, I want to get back to dresses. So I've got The Secret Lives of
Oh,
Dresses, your novel.
you have got one of my books.
Yeah. Oh, I've got more than one of your books. I've got well, I don't have is your Oxford Oxford Dictionary. I've got is the I got the Canadian Oxford, which is kind of
Oh,
special.
Catherine just died. It was very sad.
Yeah, I know. We actually, honestly, I asked her to come on the show and I didn't get a response. And
Oh,
about that
no.
time, yeah, it was very sad. Catherine Barber, the editor of the Canadian Oxford Dictionary. But anyway, but your books, you're in the end. Yeah, see, I didn't buy any at Aces. I was a struggling young copy editor 12 years ago. It's quite young. But I've got this one. I picked up this used bunch of words, more weird and wonderful words, which is apparently the sequel. I don't have the original. And I think I know I've got like 2 or 3 of these. I don't know where the others are. But this is
Oh, yeah, the little
the
Wordnik books.
Pocket Posh Word Power. This is a nice one. 120 words you should know. Extempore. Why are you saying extemporaneous? I would use.
Longtime Wordnik Angela Tung put all of those together, and she did
really?
just a fantastic job. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Those are very cool. So those are my. But I got this one. Now this is a novel, and this is more. I don't know. Is there any lexicography in here? I think it's all about dresses. And
All about dresses. I don't think there's any
stories.
lexicography in there.
Okay.
I mean, it probably snuck in when I wasn't looking.
Yeah.
It tends to get in everywhere. It's like glitter.
Glitter.
Just
Yeah.
can't keep the lexicography out of stuff.
So, but the idea is that the Secret Lives of Dresses, the dresses all have stories about them, told by the elderly woman who has a vintage dress shop, right? So, tell us how that came about.
So because I've been blogging for such a long time, one of the things I like about blogging is that you can play with different literary forms. Like, so one thing that I do, I've done poem parodies. I have a recurring series where I pretend that the people on the pattern envelopes are talking to each other. And then at some point I was like, oh, well, what would this dress say if it had a story? So I did a bunch of little Secret Lives of Dresses on the blog. And then, so I got some interest from agents about turning it into a book, but I'd worked in publishing long enough to know that books of short stories never sell. So I was like, how can I put this into a novel frame? And then I got to check off, write a novel on my bucket list.
Yeah.
And it was a great experience. I'm glad to have published it. I don't really consider myself a novelist because I think you have to write more than one.
Yeah.
But the book did really well in Australia for some inexplicable reason because it's set in Western North Carolina, where I grew up, and it's actually it's been optioned for a film in Australia, and the Australian state movie board has given them money to work on the screenplay. So maybe someday it'll be a movie. I don't know.
Oh wow. So it's sort of in that early production or writing, possibly going to be a movie thing. That's very cool. Well, I'd certainly go see that.
90%, 99% of books that get optioned never get made into movies. But I feel like Australia must have different rules, or else they wouldn't have Australian rules as a set phrase, right? So I'm just hoping.
Right. Yeah, no, I think we'll see it. I think we should all write to Australia and ask them to make this movie, and then maybe you could do a cameo in it, because that's probably a good bucket list thing.
I think they like to keep the authors as far away from the movies as possible.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. Yeah. There's I wanted to share, there's something you wrote on the blog, Dress a Day. Oh, and I wanted to ask you about you've got another book too, but let me go in order here, or in, backwards order. I really loved it. This is has sticking power. And I found this quotes on Quote Investigator. which is, I mean, that's another bucket list thing. I mean, I love Quote Investigator. It's a great source for finding, misquotes, bad quotes. And there's Erin McKean on Quote Investigator. And it's interesting because it happens, the misquote happens like a lot of them do by an association that people made. But so the quote is basically, the short quote is, prettiness is not a rent you pay for occupying a space marked female. And this is a few years ago. And I think it feels like we're becoming more aware of society as that judging people based on looks, is based on what they're wearing, is, that's something for, a couple of generations ago. That's if we're judging, that's our problem, not the person's problem. Person should, feel they own their own prettiness in this case. But the full quote, "You don't owe prettiness to anyone." And this is you're writing this in a longer blog. "You don't own prettiness to anyone, not your boyfriend, spouse, partner, not to your coworkers, especially not to random men on the street. You don't owe it to your mother. You don't owe it to your children. You don't owe it to civilization in general. Prettiness is not a rent you pay for occupying a space marked female." So that's lovely. I mean, I assume that will survive you. Another bucket list thing, immortality there.
I just wrote it kind of as a rant, and people have had it tattooed on themselves.
Wow.
You can buy a print of it on Etsy sometimes. I was surprised, but also really gratified, because I feel like I just feel like so many problems happen because of a mismatch between what you want and what people expect of you. And the more we can narrow what people expect of you, the more range people have to be who they are.
Nice. So let me get to, before I forget, let me get to the other point I was going to make. You have a nonfiction book on dresses also, right? And I don't have a copy of that one. Tell us about that.
I wanted to write a field guide to all the different kind of dress archetypes. So there's, if I said to you, "Oh, that's a June Cleaver dress," you'd probably know what I meant. Or it's a flapper dress. Or this book is pretty old at this point, so I said there was a Jersey Shore dress. So, very short, very tight. And it was just it just felt like, could I write a bird watching guide, but for dresses? Where are you going to find this dress? Where's its natural habitat? Who wears it? What do they wear it with? And I got to work with an amazing illustrator, Donna Mahalko, who drew archetypal illustrations, right? And it did terribly. It was, the whole goal for this book was to get it on the book table at Anthropology, and it was a swing and a miss. But I had such a good time. I had such a good time working with Donna, and such fun writing it. And, sometimes things work and sometimes they don't. But if you have a good experience, I feel like that it was worth the time and the effort.
Yeah, cool. Is there a what's next? Are you working on your next novel?
I'm always working on a novel, and then I get tired.
Oh.
But maybe someday. And the nice thing about Wordnik is that there's always so much to do. There's a word, procrasti-work, which is basically the work you do when you're procrastinating from other work you have to do. And one of the Algonquin Round Table people, which one, said that a man can do any amount of work as long as it's not the work he's supposed to be doing at the time. And that's if I were going to get a tattoo, that would be it. Because whenever I get bored or tired, there's always another task to pick up. And with a novel, there's not. You could switch off between novels, but that just slows all of them down. But with Wordnik, oh, okay, well, maybe I'll work on the logging problem today, or maybe I'll try to tidy up some of the JavaScript on the front end, or maybe I'll fix the API platform, or maybe I'll clean up some data. So
All right.
So yeah.
So the novels are in the wings and waiting. Somebody in the chat coined the term nonce novelist. Oh.
Yeah, that's how I would describe myself.
One time.
Maybe
Yeah.
I'll change my Twitter bio. Usually I say full stack overflow developer. But
So here's a question I've wondered this for years. Why do you have a robot, a pink robot, as your Twitter avatar?
I think when I first started using that as an avatar on a Buffy the Vampire Slayer discussion forum, because I was working on a book for OUP about Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Michael Adams' book on Slayer slang, which is just a fantastic book if you're interested in slang and how slang is formed. He has some other books on slang, The People's Poetry. That's a great book too. And I was like, I don't really want to put my face anywhere on the internet. I'm kind of a curmudgeon that way. And I had this enormous book of Dover clip art. So I was like, here's a cute robot. This will be me. And then it just stuck. And once you've used an avatar for like 15 more plus years, it is you, right? I think people are disappointed when they meet me and I'm not a giant pink robot.
And I don't know that they're really expecting that.
I have to say that I think I get a lot less Twitter harassment in general, because even though I think a pink robot comes across as extremely femme, I don't have a female face next to the ridiculous, stupid things I tweet. So I get very little Twitter harassment, and I think it's all because of the robot.
Wow. All right. Well, something to consider. You have and you inspired me. I have fake editor Mark because I saw you did fake Erin McKean. It's got to be 10, 12 years ago, right? Why did you do that? What was to tweet things that you didn't feel comfortable tweeting as Erin McKean?
So I felt like, okay, well, I'm working on this startup and like have this like professional persona, and then I need a place to tweet I just had a great cheese sandwich kind of tweets, right? So I thought, well, I'll just and fake Steve Jobs was a big thing at the time, and I was like, I'll just have fake Erin McKean. And then hilariously, people I worked with sometimes would come up to me and be like, do you know there's somebody impersonating you on Twitter as fake Erin McKean? And then I have to be like, oh wait, no, that's actually me as well. And I haven't really tweeted from that account for a while. And for a while I was like, well, I'll just like use TweetDeck and follow like my friends from fake Erin McKean and follow, everybody from E McKean. But then that all got mixed up. And there's another Erin McKean on Twitter who's like a very well-respected neurosurgeon. She's great. You should just follow her.
What does she tweet about though?
Brains.
Neurosurgeon brains? Well, brains are
brains and like medical training. And I think she runs marathons. She's a very impressive Erin McKean. I think she's definitely in like the top 3 Erin McKeans.
Really?
So yeah, I think she's probably top on the leaderboard right now.
Yeah, there's I think there's a Mark Allen who's a triathlete and a snooker champion. So I aspire to be either of those people. But
I'm kind of on the leading edge of the cohort of people named Erin. Like there was a big spike in Erins in like the 80s.
Oh, was there?
I'm about a decade older than most of those Erins. So I feel like there's going to be like a large contingent of impressive Erin McKeans, because McKean's like a rarish name, but not a very rare name that will be coming up soon. Because Erin was a very popular name in like 85, 86.
Okay. Well, I know a few Erins. They're all very nice people. And so it's a good name. One more thing I saw in your biography, your advisor to Planet Word, which this is our secret goal on the show, is to get every advisor to Planet Word as a guest on that.
What a great goal. They're all such nice folks.
We've had at least a couple.
We've had Gretchen
and Ben Zimmer and we had Ann Friedman from Planet Word itself. So what is that like? What is the job? Because I think I should apply for this too. This sounds like a lot of fun.
Every once in a while they ask us a question and we answer to the best of our ability, and we help share their worthwhile endeavors as we can. I'm just bummed, because of the whole pandemic thing, a lot of the in-person stuff just didn't happen.
Yeah, if you probably haven't made it all the way out to DC. You're in San Francisco area.
Yeah,
Right? Yeah.
I've left the Bay once since last February,
Oh,
a
yeah.
year ago February,
Mhm.
since early
Right.
2020.
Well, I've been asking you for years. ACES is in San Antonio, so it's just it's
Oh
still the
yeah,
west of the Mississippi.
I could just trip and fall down there. No.
Pretty much, yeah. San Antonio in the spring, and then if you can't make that one, Columbus, Ohio, here in my town the following year. So we'd love. So you haven't done ACES since Cleveland, I think. So
Yeah, I
about
can't remember.
time.
It's been such a long time.
Yeah,
That's such a fun conference, though. I
it
really like
is.
it.
Yeah, it's like tripled in size since you were there too. So I can
Wow.
imagine that many copy editors in one place. It's something. So,
I'd have to bring like 5 times my usual ration of semicolon appreciation society stickers.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 100 times maybe. But all right. Well, I don't know. We started late. I think we've gone beyond 5:30. We started late. I think we've done about an hour, but I don't, I can't tell. It's been really lovely to speak with you. You're just one of my, when I started out as a freelance copy editor, when I started on Twitter, you were there. You were one of my favorite people to follow, and you remain so. So it's been great to
Oh,
have you on the show and get to talk face to face.
that's
So,
so nice of you.
yeah, yeah.
I
I
really
say that to every
appreciate the
guest.
chance to be here. Well, I hope you don't invite people you hate on the show. That would just be mean.
Uh, Only very rarely. Yeah. No, no. All right. Well, thank you very much. We've got another show in a couple of weeks. Not somebody I hate, somebody I like, and again, thank you 1,000 times. It's been a lot of fun, and hope to see you in person one day.
I hope so too. Thank
All
y'all. Have a good
right.
evening.
Thanks, everybody. Bye bye.